I'm Steven Stump, and here with Pat Ivey, one of our city council members of Saline. Pat, thank you so much for coming on with us.
My pleasure, Stephen. It's great to be here.
So Pat, how long have you been doing city council for the city of Saline now?
Well, I was elected in 2007, and I'm serving my second term. And I've been on board for 3 years and 4 months.
Gotcha, will do. And how did you decide to run city council? I mean, I know it's a very needed position in the cities, but it doesn't seem like the number one thing people just gravitate towards. You know, I see the softball teams, I see, you know, going out and doing other activities, but city council just seems like a different spot to go join.
Well, my reason for being interested, I think, really has to do with Channel 18, because 10, 15 years ago when I lived in Saline and watched our council meetings that were aired on television, I became interested in municipal government. And I thought when I reached a point in my career when I had a little more time to devote to something that would give back to the community, that this would be a good vehicle. And I found it delightful as far as an opportunity for me to give back to the community, and as well to hone some of my communication skills and also learn an awful lot about how city government works.
Oh, okay. So talking about your past did you grow up in Saline? How did you come down to this neck of woods of Saline here?
Well, Detroit was, throughout my career, the headquarters. I worked for a company that was based in Detroit, and I had several locations where I managed publishing operations, and eventually the only way to progress and be promoted was to come to Detroit. So I came in 1995. Or was it 93? 93. And I, just by accident, stumbled on Saline. I took a flight to Indianapolis, and I drove from Indianapolis to Detroit and drove through Saline and just fell in love with it. So when I was transferred here, I decided, well, I'm going to move to Detroit. I moved to Saline.
Gotcha. So, and also kind of getting into city council, did you go through any committees or anything like that to join into city council? I mean, I can't imagine city council being your first step into local government, or did you kind of just get to jump right in all the way?
No, I jumped in. I had no previous experience on a committee, although I do recommend that anyone who is interested in civic affairs get involved in committees. There was a time when I thought about doing that, but really it kind of all happened at once that I thought I'll just run for council and see if I get elected, and if I do, then yeah, I'll have lots of opportunities to serve.
So with you now being on here and, you know, working on your second term, is there any goals or any like kind of landmarks you want to kind of hit, or that have been in kind of your mind that are personal goals that you're just kind of would like to see the city get to?
Well, I think when you're a council member, you probably have a lot of goals that you feel are important to you personally. But I think the most important thing for the council members to always remember is that they are part of a collective body. And we're all kind of joined at the hip. You know, it's the will of the majority is the direction that we go in. And I think you have to set aside your personal goals and always remember that it's what the collective body decides that's important. But the thing that each of us has in making those decisions is influence. And in our deliberations and discussions about issues that we decide on, I think we help each other make a collective decision that's the best for the community. I think we're on the right track, and I am astounded at the degree of professionalism and expertise that we have with each member that's on council.
I understand. So with city council being a lot, and with the government and the state having a lot of things going down, are you able to work a full-time job, or how's that work out in the daily life of a council member? Is it still working a job and trying to juggle city council, or where are you at with that?
Well, I have been unemployed for 15 months. And during this time, I have been able to devote a lot more attention to my council duties. And it's been rewarding insofar as I don't feel like I'm unprepared. A lot of times when I was working full-time, I didn't feel that I had the opportunity to prepare by doing the research and asking the right questions in advance of the meetings. Now, I feel confident when I come to the meetings that I've done my homework, and I think really it's all based on how much time you have to invest in it, and if the more time you have, the more successful you'll be. I think someone that has a full-time job is going to have a little more stress and a little more difficulty dealing with all of what's required to be a council person, but it's certainly not impossible depending on the person.
Gotcha. So talking about being on city council and stuff, any other thoughts of, talking about being in your second term, trying to run for city council, looking at any other government offices, of thoughts of up in the state level, or just kind of sticking local with Saline, kind of more your area to be, or any thoughts with that?
Well, I'm very honored to be an elected official right here in Saline. I have no ambition to advance insofar as an elected office for the state or the county or the federal government. My contribution the last 3 years, I think, has been focused on what's going on right here locally, although I have been interested in a broader scope, and I am a member of the steering committee for the National League of Cities Energy, Environment, and Natural Resources Committee. I also serve on the Washtenaw County Committee for Local Emergency Planning. And I have been involved at the state level in the Michigan Municipal League in a number of capacities. Currently the Public Services Committee for the League. However, I am, as I say, focused locally, and I have no ambitions to go beyond the level that I'm at right now. If my service were to end tomorrow, I would be satisfied with what I've accomplished, and I would feel that in some small way I've helped to serve our community, and as an appreciation for what the community has given me and my family. We grew up, my children were educated here in our fine school system, and we've been safe, and I couldn't say more about what Saline has done for me and my family. I think it's tremendous.
So we talk about you move into Detroit for your job and stuff, and so going back more into the degree and the college realm, did the college degree, did that help in anything with what you've done now in government, with trying to deal with the finances, understanding how a mass organization of a city runs and stuff like that?
Well, I was an English major, Stephen.
Okay.
So I suppose the answer to your question is no. It didn't help a heck of a lot. Having a liberal arts background, I was a stranger to the workings of the city and the organization of the city. But we have a tremendous staff. Our city manager and all of his department heads are very professional and very good at what they do. And I think, being on council, you don't necessarily have to be an expert at any one aspect of city government, you have to be a good collaborator, and you have to be open-minded, of course, because you're setting the policy for that administration. And it's important, I think, to keep in mind that no matter how much education you have, there's always going to be someone or some other organization that is better, more qualified to do something. So I think it's important to continue learning and not reject opportunities to learn more that would help you in your position, whether it's in the private sector or in government.
Gotcha. Any big hobbies you have? Any other fun things you like doing kind of on the weekends on the sides when out in the parks or anything like that?
Well, my wife and I are gardeners, and we're very fond of getting out and working in the garden. I also compose and play music, and that's been a hobby of mine for some time. Basically, I would say a private person. I don't get out and socialize as much as I should probably, but I do enjoy my privacy, and I do enjoy just going to the farmer's market or going to the summer music series that we have here. I think it's going to be on Thursday night now instead of on Friday night this coming year. But I find that there's plenty of time to enjoy life, and I'm very satisfied with my situation right now.
Me too. Kind of with communicating and being out there in the social realm, with technology being out there more and email and stuff like that, do you see, does the community use that a lot to get a hold of you, or is it more of phone calls, seeing you in person type of things? I mean,
well, I think the social networks and email are the primary sources of communication right now, and I don't think any of us on council get that many telephone calls. There are always a few people who feel that they need to communicate by telephone, and maybe being from the old school, they're not up to speed with the more recent means of communicating. But I think our city has made some progress with the social networking, and we have a little more to accomplish, but it's a very important aspect of communication these days. We did a survey last year of our citizens, and even though, yes, the advances in technology have opened up these new avenues of communication, the majority of people still feel comfortable with the newsletter and like to get written information about what the city's doing. So we don't want to replace our tried and true avenue of communication with anything too different.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, I mean, I know the city, because I know the city has their Twitter and things like that. Have you got into kind of your own, like, Facebook, Twitter way of informing everyone of out there in the world of what's going on from the city council member perspective?
Well, I found that my colleagues usually beat me to it, and they're on top of that. So I kind of let them take care of that sort of thing. I do tweet and I do post Facebook posts, of course, but I don't do it that frequently, and I have my network of friends and associates, but I think your television station with its announcements and the newsletters and our newspapers that we have, I think are doing a pretty good job of informing people what's going on. And if any citizen ever has a question, it doesn't matter to me how they contact me, but I'll be happy to listen and hopefully help them in some way.
So you kind of talked about the summer music series, and we run into each other with me filming and you being there all the time. Of the question that seems like the hard one that comes through these interviews is a favorite event of sort of City of Saline. And I know there's so many, and not to rank one over the other, but is there one that you enjoy more or have a more deeper feeling towards when it comes through the year of Saline here?
I think it's the Memorial Day parade that would rank as probably my most favorite event. Yes, the parade, and then the gathering at the Oakwood Cemetery, where we usually have a very interesting speaker, and getting together and remembering those who served our country and made it possible for people here in Saline to enjoy the liberties and the freedoms that we have. That's a special occasion, and I think it's the one time in our annual series of events that we recognize really the duty, the price that people paid so that we can enjoy this kind of lifestyle. So that's my favorite event.
No, it makes sense. It's definitely a moving event, and a very, very annual one that's always looked forward to in Saline here. So kind of wrapping up some bits of this with the you being in your second term, is there a thought of possibly trying to go for another term, or?
Well,
that?
I think it's premature to speculate about that.
Okay, I understand.
But I'm just happy to be here today and be helping in some way to guide our city into the next decade.
Oh, I understand. Well, is there anything else you want to kind of inform the citizens about you, or things that we missed kind of as we went through the interview here today?
Well, I wanted to say this. I certainly appreciate Channel 18. I think it's very important that we have the kind of programming that you and your staff and Mr. Bush and others help provide. So I am committed to that, and I want you to know that I've talked to a lot of citizens who have also stated that they really enjoy watching Channel 18, and they are certainly glad that they have that option, because so much public and local television seems to be in jeopardy right now.
Understand?
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for coming in and doing this interview with us.
Thank you, Mr. Stump.
Thank you.
This has been an SCTN production.